Hi guys, it's Michael from the Little Metal Dog Show here on behalf of the UK Gaming Media Network, live at the UK Games Expo 2011. Now, if you know games, there's one name that you must know, and it's this gentleman here. His name is Martin Wallace, and he is here to show us his new game that's not out yet. It's called Ankh-Morpork, and of course, if you know Ankh-Morpork, it's all about the Discworld, all about Terry Pratchett's books, and it is, well, this is looking pretty impressive. Martin, thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Michael. Thanks for inviting me.
No worries.
Yeah.
Tell us about this. So, Ankh-Morpork is not out yet. Will be out soon, hopefully. Before we go into the game itself, how did you come to design a game based on Terry Pratchett's world?
It was a friend of mine suggested the theme. He said, "Why don't you try and get go for a Discworld game?" Because I was looking for a way for the company to make more money. So I was thinking, what licenses could you do?
Shameless.
I know. Well, you know, it's surprising how little money you actually make from board games. So we suggested this because we knew there was somebody in our game, one of the people we meet regular at games conventions, who was part of Terry's crowd, knew Terry Pratchett. Okay. So we had an in, and through this person and somebody else that subsequently found out was also on the Discworld committee, we were able to put together a plan. So rather than going to Terry saying, "Terry, we'd like to do a game based on your books," we did it the other way around, where we designed the game, made sure it was good enough to publish, and then went to Terry and said, "Can we do the game?" Or when we went to Terry's agent, actually. And their line was, "Well, if the fans like it, then you can go ahead and do it." So it was very much, would it appeal to the fans? If so, then fine, you can go ahead and do it.
Cool.
Which is why it's not an exclusive game, because there are other games with the similar theme coming out as well.
Cool.
So that was last August, where we got the go-ahead. And between August and now, it was kind of like, how do we do artwork for 132 different cards? That's 132 unique pieces of artwork, plus a cover, plus a board.
Plus a very detailed board.
Very, very detailed board. How do we get that done in time? Because that is a lot of artwork to do. Fortunately, I've teamed up with a gentleman called Bernard Pearson and his team, Ian, Reb and Isabel, who run a shop in Wincanton called the Cunning Artisanal.
Okay.
It's also known as Discworld Emporium, and they sell everything to do with Discworld. But Bernard is also a personal friend of Terry's, so that at certain points, if we needed input into how certain characters should look, we were in the position where Bernard could actually call Terry up and say, "Okay, Terry, how should this person look?" And then Terry say, "Well, I imagine them looking like such and such a character." Or very often Terry will use a TV personality or a film person and say, "Well, they should look a little bit like this."
Were there any particularly really, really weird ones? Like you had a vision of what it might look like, but Terry's was just completely out there.
Not as such. No, most of them we thought, yes, you can see that. I think the most interesting one, the one I use is the best example, and probably one of the key images, is the image of Commander Vimes, because he is probably the most famous character from the books, apart from somebody like, say,
from the Watch,
And Terry's image of how Commander Vimes should look has actually changed over the years. So when he first wrote about this character, he had in his head this image of Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
But then, as the character developed, he changed his mental image of the character to Pete Postlethwaite.
Cool.
So if you look at the card, I don't know if it's going to be able to.
We'll flash it up over into there.
Yeah. If you look at that, that is clearly based on the unfortunately recently deceased actor Pete Postlethwaite.
You can certainly see it in there. That's fantastic.
If somebody goes, "Oh, that's not how I imagined Commander Vimes," it's like, tough. That's how the author imagined Commander Vimes, and that's what you're getting. So you're not necessarily getting how we think they should look, where you're actually getting how
you're getting it from the horse's mouth.
Thought they should look. In certain cases, let's see, another good example, if I can find it quickly. Some of the cards are based on actual Discworld fans.
Oh, okay.
So
So people who are known to Terry, for example.
There's a person who goes to every Discworld convention dressed as Mr. Boggis. So this card here is not based on how Terry should look, how Terry thinks the character should look. It's based on the guy who turns up at every Discworld convention as Mr. Boggis.
That's fantastic.
So with some of them, yeah, I mean, they had a bit of fun with some of them.
You've put a hell of a lot of effort into this.
Rosie Palm is based on a real life person, a friend of Terry's. That's Bernard. That's Bernard Pearson. Okay, that's what Bernard looks like. So you've not met him. Bernard is Modo. Sergeant Angua is based on the guy who did the map. That's his fiance, who also works there. So yes. Many man-hours went into this, to the point where normally when you produce a game, you pay an artist a set amount of money depending on the amount of work they do. The team of artists on this project receive a royalty, which is actually altogether equal to the royalty that Terry's getting. Wow. So we're paying out a lot of money to have this game produced.
That's it.
But
looking
to make
at this,
sure
this is
it's absolutely right.
The board itself is stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. The cards are lovely.
Yes.
So you've really captured the feeling and the vibe of Ankh-Morpork and the Discworld books. But what's the actual aim of the game then? What are we aiming to do?
Okay. The backstory is that for reasons that are not explained, Lord Veterinary, who is the patrician, has disappeared.
Right.
Okay. Which has happened in a couple of the books.
Yeah.
So that's quite plausible. So that means there is a power struggle, because obviously, while the cat's away, the mice are going to play.
Yeah.
So each of the players is one of those mice, and there are seven personalities in the game, and you will be dealt a personality, but you keep it secret.
Okay.
And the personality that you get determines what you need to do to win the game.
Okay, so everybody has a different winning condition.
Well, sort of. For instance, there are three lords who all have identical victory conditions: Salakai, Rust, and Dewar. Now, their victory conditions is that if at the beginning of their turn they control a certain number of areas, and that means having more bits in there than any other player, they win the game. So with 4 players, they've got to control 4 areas.
Okay.
So they're after controlling a certain number of areas. If you're Chrysoprase, the Mafia troll, you just want money. So if at the beginning of your turn you've got $50, your total value is $50 between what you have in cash and any buildings you have on the board, then you win the game. If you are Lord Veterinary, that means you return without letting anybody know.
That's it.
And what you want to do is re-establish control of the city. So you win if you have minions in a certain number of different areas. So you're not after controlling the areas, but you want your spies in place, ready to start pulling the levers. So again, with 4 players, you'd have to have minions in 9 different areas. You then have Dragon King of Ours. Now, I need to explain another rule so you can understand how this works. Because it's Ankh-Morpork, there has to be trouble. So these are trouble markers. And the rule with trouble is, if the number of minions in an area changes or it was already at 1 or more, so every minion goes in that causes trouble. Conversely, if for any reason the minion is removed, usually due to an assassination, they obviously were the cause of the trouble, so the trouble goes. So trouble fluctuates in the course of the game. Now, Dragon King of Arms wins if at the beginning of the turn there are 8 or more trouble markers on board. So he wants to cause trouble. The rationale being, if there's so much trouble around, the city descends into chaos and they'll welcome back the king with open arms, and obviously he's the power behind the throne. Okay, so you've got these people here who can achieve instant sudden death victory conditions.
Right.
The game will end when you've run through the cards.
Okay.
If the game ends because the cards runs out, if somebody is Commander Vimes, they win the game. So he basically wants to stop everybody else from winning.
So he's going around basically trying to put out fires left, right, and centre, and everybody else is trying to just cause. basically.
Well, the thing is, everybody has to keep an eye on everybody else, because if there is somebody who is obviously trying to cause trouble, then you want to make sure that you stop them achieving their victory condition, but you still have to be pursuing your own. But they might not be, they actually might be behaving in a way that isn't true to their character to bluff you. So there is a healthy degree of paranoia. and that you're never quite sure who people are. Okay?
Right.
So.